Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. And having brought up the question of economic program, as well as a political strategy to assemble some mass forces behind that, let's talk about economic program. Unemployment is now steady. It doesn't go down, even though Obama claims there were more jobs. The unemployment rate stays high because more of the discouraged workers are coming back into the unemployment pool with the springtime. And, of course, a lot of seasonal factors are at work. Construction trades, of course, increasing because the weather changes, as it's now doing quite rapidly around here in Washington. But let's look back again to 80 years ago. This past week we had these two anniversaries, the fall of the Miller government on March 27th, 1930, back in the Weimar Republic of Germany, and then the coming of Heinrich Brüning on March 30th, 1930. And remember now, we're hearing and seeing from Republicans, from enthusiasts of the Austrian school and the Chicago school, and indeed from Obama, from the regime at every level, particularly in the states. We have the Garden State Goebbels, the Garden State Goering, Christie. We have McDonnell of Virginia with their brutal austerity programs. And the idea now is we're in a depression, and don't ever lose sight of that central salient fact. You're not in normal times. You're in a real, honest-to-God world economic depression. It's not a conspiracy. It may be the result of multiple conspiracies over time, but once it's there, it has objective reality. It's not a machination or an attempt to dupe you. There is an honest-to-God world economic depression with poverty and genocide as inescapable features of it. I had a chance to discuss some of these things with Kevin Barrett on his radio program on the 27th, the 80th anniversary. That was this past 27th of March. So the Miller government was the last government that had a majority in the German parliament, and he was a social democrat, and he fell over the issue of social insurance. And then comes Brüning. So Brüning does not have a majority. Therefore, he uses Field Marshal von Hindenburg, the president of Germany, the president of the German Reich, the Weimar Republic at the time, to issue these emergency decrees, right? You go into emergency rule, Notstand, and you issue these emergency decrees, the so-called Notverordnungen of Brüning, and he issues 4 or 5 of these things. And what he does is to carry out the program that many in the Republicans, the Tea Party, the Austrians, and indeed it's an emerging consensus, right, that it's going to be time to start balancing the budget and fighting the deficit. Obama has already announced, and Orsag and the rest of them, that they're going to be doing that next year. So Brüning, what does he do? He cuts the wages of government employees. Wages and salaries are cut by 25%. He goes to pay-as-you-go on every bill. He institutes a poll tax or a head tax, the most regressive type of tax. He has a tax on bachelors. Unmarried men get a tax. Women are hit even harder. If they have jobs and their husbands do too, then the women are fired so that there's only one job per family. Unemployment benefits, the heart of the Weimar social safety net, health, education, welfare provisions focus on jobless benefits because of the very high unemployment. This is cut down to only 20 weeks. The payments get smaller. The number of weeks you can get them get to be fewer and fewer, and the tax you pay for this goes up to 6.5% of your wages. There are then taxes on all kinds of things, tobacco, beer, all kinds of staples, and so forth. So it is a real effort to cut government expenditure, and according to the estimates I've seen, the cut in the German government budget goes from minus 17%. You could even bring it up to minus 33% if you also factor in the end of reparations, which took place right at the end of Brüning's time in office. So they tried to balance the budget. They fought big government. Yes, they fought big government tooth and nail. And what was the result? That the depression got worse and worse and worse and worse. The unemployment went up steadily. When he came in, it was in the 3 to 4 million range, and by the time he left, it was in the 6 to 7 million range. And also, because of these cuts and because of all the firings, there's a steady decline in tax revenue. The more Brüning cut the budget, the bigger the deficit became the following year. Please, Christie, McDonnell, Obama, Ryan in Illinois, Schwarzenegger, and whoever follows, take note. The more you cut the budget, the bigger the deficit is the next time around. And, of course, we're told today there's a growing consensus that there's going to be a value-added tax. This comes from Krauthammer, comes from all the reactionaries on the radio. There's going to be a VAT tax. Well, that's an awful, awful tax. That's regressive. That's the European Union, I think, has a 17% value-added tax. That's just awful. Let's go with a Tobin tax. Let's go with the Robin Hood tax. Let's go with the Wall Street sales tax, securities transfer tax, financial transfer tax, or trading tax. Make Wall Street pay, not the average person, but Wall Street. They created the Depression. Let them pay for it. And right now, they are not taxed at all. And what happened with Bruning was, here he is trying to follow the economic orthodoxy, balance the budget, fight big government, cut the size of spending. And in the middle of all this, what happens? A speculative bubble has formed, and when this crashes down in the the late spring of 1931, with the North German Wool Company and then the Kaufhof department store chain, that kicks into a banking crisis. So he gets a speculative bubble, a speculative panic, and a banking crisis. These are all things that have very little to do with whether the budget is balanced or what the size of the state debt is or any of this stuff, right? It's all irrelevant to what actually causes a depression. The crash in the U.S. in September, October of 2008 has almost nothing to do with the level of government debt or the deficit or anything of the sort. And now we're being told that the only way to get the house in order is to go back and engage in this stupid budget austerity, fiscal austerity. We need austerity for the banks. We need Tobin taxes to stop Wall Street speculation. We need to shut down zombie banks. Anyway, that's what happened to Bruning, is that the North German wool panic and the Kaufhof department store chain panic kicks over into a crisis of the Danat Bank in July of 1931. And within a month or two, all the German banks are shut down in a comprehensive banking panic. And at that point, they go towards autarky. They begin to institute the kinds of economic measures that then lead as a continuum through von Papen into the National Socialist totalitarian dictatorship of Hitler. So there it is. Austerity doesn't work. Fiscal austerity is a failure. The historical commentary couldn't be worse. And, of course, Bruning then falls. He loses the support of von Hindenburg, who says, I'm not going to sign any more of these austerity decrees. So he's kicked out. Then you get von Papen for 4 or 5 months, von Schleicher for 2 or 3 months, and then you get Hitler at the end of January 1933. So what it shows is the kind of austerity that's being proposed, and this is what the Austrians are all demanding, more austerity. They say, Peter Schiff in Connecticut says the Depression is an opportunity to set things in order. Right? And what they mean by that is a deflationary crash. Well, that is what Bruning brought on. It was a conscious policy of making the deflationary tendencies in the society more pronounced and using that to smash labor, smash the unions, smash the unemployment benefits system. We had Kudlow on television here calling for an immediate across-the-board 10% cut in the public employees all across the United States, in every state in the federal government, minus 10% immediately. Not Wall Street bonuses, but the salaries of public employees. Well, it's been tried. Bruning got down to minus 25% for public employees. And what happened was the Depression engulfed him nonetheless. And in the process, he had destroyed the parties, he destroyed the political institutions, and totalitarian dictatorship, world war, and national catastrophe were the results. So let's learn something from that and stop with the fiscal austerity and the balanced budget nonsense. It's been tried. It's a failure. Don't go down that road again. And we'll see you next week.